Welcome to Hogvillenet YouTube Live post-game. I'm inside Bud Walton Arena. It's been a minute since I've been here. And this is obviously not the outcome that Arkansas fans wanted tonight. You got Nick Smith Jr. back, but you got a loss on the scoreboard today. Mississippi State, one of the best defensive teams in the country, came in and gave Arkansas fits from the start. Well, actually, Arkansas jumped out 5-0. But from that point forward, I thought Mississippi State's defense was very difficult for Arkansas to deal with. Arkansas did shoot better in the second half, but loses 70-64, fell behind by as many as 16 points in the second half, fought its way back within 3 with a little over a minute to play, and Bud Walton Arena was energized. Nick Smith Jr., 17 minutes today, 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. He missed the front end of 1-1 in the first half, had a rebound and assist, but he was a box score +3 in this game in his 17 minutes. And I thought really he and Mekhi Mitchell kind of gave Arkansas a lift that started a run when they fell behind by 16 points the first time. And Arkansas just kept whittling away, finding a way to, chip the lead, get the lead down. Most of what Arkansas did that was positive today was just get to the free throw line a lot. Everything else, Mississippi State, when we go through these stats, pretty much dominated in this game. And this is a team, Mississippi State, as good as it was defensively, a top 4 rated defense coming in. It was a pretty horrendous offensively. One of the worst field goal shooting teams from 2, from 3 at the free throw line. In Mississippi State today, its offense really, I thought, it's 2-man game with quicker guards. Even their wings were quick. And we've seen Arkansas struggle all year with guards that are quicker and quick twitch, getting on the inside of Arkansas's bigger guards and getting leverage and then using their bodies to play stop and go and set themselves up or a teammate up. Very savvy. And Arkansas still sometimes looks like a young team defensively in some of those situations. And then I thought Mississippi State's bigs did a good job playing that 2-man game, making passes off cuts. A lot of times it was cuts on the weak side away from when a player would curl away from a screen on the other side of the horn. And so this is a game where Arkansas did better in the second half, but it wasn't good enough. The Hogs, after jumping out 5-0, it was Mississippi State off to the races. The Bulldogs led by as many as 8 points before Arkansas would get within 2. Then a 7-0 run to finish the first half. Really, that put the Bulldogs up by 9 at halftime. That was their biggest lead. And then they just jumped on Arkansas quickly in that second half, expanded it to 16. And then from there, Arkansas had an uphill climb. And that's always hard to deal with against a team that is really good defensively because you expected Arkansas at home to make a run, but getting all the way back was going to take a lot of energy. Anthony Black was Arkansas's lone, reliable player offensively today. 8 of 13 from the field, 23 points, 5 of 6 at the line, 2 of 5 from 3. He had a couple of threes early in the game. But then he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He did have 4 turnovers, but 3 steals. But, man, you look at Ricky Council and Devo Davis, they combined for 3 of 17 from the field today. Both of them struggled. Ricky did get to the free throw line in bulk. He was 11 of 13. Had a reverse dunk late in the game that helped Arkansas pull within 5. Devo Davis hit a 3 in the second half that was big during Arkansas's run, but took some really poor shots again today. It's not that they're poor shots when he misses and good shots when he makes them. He was off balance for a lot of what he did today and took some early clock. And a little bit further out distance-wise than where he really is a little more comfortable towing the line, even though he's knocked down 2 or 3 of those. But I thought with the turnovers, it seems like every time Arkansas would turn over Mississippi State, the Hogs would give it right back. They couldn't capitalize. And we're going to go through all the stats, but it was a myriad of things that really conspired against the Hogs, and a lot of it had to do with just how good Mississippi State was today. Eric Mulsman in the post-game press conference was not pleased. He used the word uncharacteristic with what some of his players were doing on both sides of the ball today. Nick Smith Jr., I do feel like, early in the game, first half, there wasn't much you could read off of his because he got spot minutes. He played a lot more in the second half, and I thought he gave Arkansas an injection, even though his shot was off, an injection of energy. Shot wasn't falling, but he got some good looks. He made some nice passes and found teammates and did some good things there. Arkansas can beat anybody in the country, but also lose to anyone. Someone else is saying honestly prefer an 11 seed over an 8 or 9. Well, Arkansas is going to move from that 8 or 9 projection, maybe even there's some 7 projections. They're going to fall a bit after this home loss. This is a quad 2 result. Mississippi State's in the 40s in net. That's going to improve with this road win. It's a quad one win for Mississippi State. It's a team that's won 5 games in a row, and that includes a win over then TCU, then number 11 TCU in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. So it's a team that's playing really good basketball. This was not a good road team in SEC play. 1-4 coming in, but now they pick up that second road win. Arkansas knows what it's like to struggle on the road. Now Arkansas is going to turn around and go to Texas A&M on Wednesday. So you've got to wonder, that's a good Texas A&M team, really good Texas A&M team that's at the top of the league standings right behind after Alabama. First time we lose and guys are mad. I think this will be a motivating factor. We had Anthony Black in the post-game press conference. He was not happy. He was actually very candid. When I asked him, when it was my turn to ask a question, no excuses made. He laid it at the feet of his team and teammates and, didn't sugarcoat things about Mississippi State. He said this was a game that Arkansas should have won. And again, we could talk about all the things that went wrong today because we will. Other than getting to the free throw line, this is where Arkansas's had problems in the past, but lately they've turned that around. Arkansas gets there today. It takes 26 free throws, makes 18 of those, 69.2%. That's not exactly the efficiency you'd like to have, but it's, on par for what this team's done when you look at the arc of the season overall. Shot lights out at the line at Kentucky, but we knew that was an outlier. That performance that night was an outlier when you look at all the efficiency from 2, from 3, from the free throw line. And then, Arkansas shoots 10 more free throws than Mississippi State, 10 of 16 for the Bulldogs. Not a good free throw shooting team coming in, and they were at 62.5%. So that's about what you'd expect for that team. But other than that, it was all Mississippi State. The Bulldogs made 6 more field goals than Arkansas. They shot just over 47%, which is much higher than their season average. Arkansas did shoot better in the second half, but finished at just under 44% for the game. Not where you want to be at home. The Hogs, I thought, took too many three-point shots in the first half, trying to deal with that zone. Mississippi State does a really good job of identifying communicating in their switches, tagging, and just staying attached. They just stay attached and stay in front of you. So it's really hard to drive, penetrate. Arkansas took the bait, took too many threes, I thought. I like Black's post-game presser. Yeah, I did too. I thought he was candid, and I like the fact that he didn't, give the usual vanilla answers. He it takes after a game like he had in terms of production, I think even he realizes that all of the Hogs, including himself, came up short today, not just because they came up short against a good team, but they didn't have their best day, and I think that was obvious. You got to give Mississippi State credit, though. The defense was really good. This is a team, getting to 70 points. Last year, Chris Jans at New Mexico State, Arkansas, New Mexico State, playing in the round of 32 to advance the Sweet 16. That game was 53-48. This is a team that grinds and keeps the score low and usually doesn't shoot very well. Today, the only team that had to grind was Arkansas. Mississippi State looked comfortable, and even even when Arkansas would have some success defensively, there just wasn't enough conversion at the other end. I thought Arkansas, there were crucial times where Arkansas missed free throw, missed a front end of 1-and-1, or split 2 free throws late, or missed a free throw, made the second, but had a lane violation to nullify that. I mean, in a game like this where you're fighting uphill, you just can't have those mistakes. +2 on the glass for Mississippi State today. That was overall and on the offensive glass. And the second chance points 11-8, so +3 for Mississippi State. +1 in turnovers, 13 for Arkansas, 12 for Mississippi State. Points off turnovers was a huge advantage for the Bulldogs. 16-9, that's a +7. So when you're shooting as well as that team is, and then you're taking Arkansas's mistakes and cashing in on those, and you have a big advantage there. A slight advantage in second chance points, a bigger advantage, in those points off turnovers. And then points in the paint. Mississippi State was 36. Arkansas had 28, so +8. And I thought the Bulldogs, you look at their bigs, Tolu Smith, 11 points, 8 rebounds. Had a guy that backed him up that had some success as a passer and a finisher, but it was really a lot about their guards and slashing to the basket. They got some putbacks in there, but, a lot of it was just getting some clean looks too. I thought Arkansas didn't contest, even though Arkansas, I think, had maybe 7 blocks. I don't know. I got to go back and look at that. I just didn't think Arkansas contested enough shots, and a lot of that had to do with just Mississippi State playing sound basketball and creating clean looks around the basket. It's just, it was one of those games where one team looked like the better team for the most part, and that was Mississippi State. I do think Arkansas is a better team when I look at the two team seasons to this point. You know, we can talk about, did the Nick Smith Jr. factor have anything to do with what happened today? I don't think it did. I thought he was good when he was in there. Did it impact other guys in their minutes? Well, we've seen this scenario play out though before, while Smith has been out with some of the players. And certainly before he ever checked in, Mississippi State had already put its stamp on this game on the offensive and defensive end. So the theme was already kind of set before he ever got into the game. And I thought, for the most part, especially in the second half when he got more extended run, he gave Arkansas some energy. And I thought defensively, his quickness helped Arkansas a little bit out on the perimeter. That to me showed up today. I thought Devo Davis took a step back today as well as he's been playing. This was a bad game for Devo. He hurt Arkansas in transition 3 or 4 times. That's obvious. Some of his turnovers were right after Arkansas either got a rebound or a turnover defensively and then turn it right back over. Some of his shots felt like turnovers. And I just think he had an off day, as did Ricky Council. Both of these players would mean a lot to Arkansas, and they don't score till second half, late in the second half at that. In terms of from the field, at the free throw line, they were collectively really good, especially Council. But you can't have that many of your top offensive players on an off night. Nick Smith Jr. couldn't give you really much on the offensive end when you look at the opportunities. There were times he was wide open, and the ball would move a little bit, and then it wouldn't move enough. You have to move the ball side to side against a defense like Mississippi State's to get some creases that you can attack, and Arkansas would stay on one half. Sometimes in secondary transition opportunities, Arkansas would just keep holding on to the ball out top instead of going ahead and moving it. You could still score in secondary transition. It doesn't have to be a total fast break opportunity. Arkansas bypassed several of those. So there were some opportunities for Arkansas to solve Mississippi State at that end of the floor. They just didn't seize those moments. And who knows if they'd have knocked down shots, but I did see, like, for example, Smith Jr. setting up in both corners at different spots when he rotated up and got to an open spot, off ball movement and penetration, and you didn't see kickouts. And when it was on the perimeter, you didn't see the ball move enough side to side. And I thought that really hurt Arkansas in this game. I think the ball movement just wasn't there, and that might have been something that had been more helpful. I'm going to go back and watch the game when I get back to Little Rock tonight. I've recorded it, and maybe I'll change my mind on some of the things that are my initial reactions. It might be different things. I didn't have benefit of replays today, but I do think the fact that Arkansas gave itself a chance. You were down 3 with 1:13 left, down 4 after Smith hit a 3. The game was almost pretty much out of reach at that point, but you still had a chance. There was enough time left there. I don't believe in moral victories, but I think it's a lot better that Arkansas, gave itself a chance. The Alabama game, Arkansas was in that one here at home. Their only other home loss, down 2 with about 5 minutes left, and then Bama hits a quick 9-0 run, and Arkansas never whittled away. The Hogs were never really able to get it down. At least today, Arkansas was within 3 with just over a minute left, so they continued to fight. And so that's something, to, maybe build on getting ready for a road game at Texas A&M. Arkansas could be facing back-to-back losses, and this is not a feeling Arkansas is used to having in February. If you go back to the last 2 years, Arkansas was 16-1 in February games. They only lost 1 point on the road at Alabama 2 years ago. Now Arkansas's lost at home for the first time in a February game. You have to go back to Musselman's first season in Arkansas. That's how good his teams have been in the month of February, which is the next step to March when it's postseason. And so Arkansas, this is not a death knell by any stretch. They picked up only their second loss in a February game, spanning the last 3 seasons. But it is going to be a little more difficult now when you go back on the road against one of the better teams in the SEC. Arkansas can win that game. I do think there's still some question marks about, acclimating Smith and when is he comfortable again? When does he get his timing and rhythm back? We saw him only get 6 minutes against Troy in his season debut. way back at the last game that Arkansas played in November. And then against Greensboro in the next game, or excuse me, the next game was San Jose State when Arkansas had everybody healthy. Nick Smith Jr. scored in double figures. Trevon Brazile was the player of the game. Arkansas scored 99 points, and it was, they looked unbeatable that day. It was the only time they had everybody. After that, Arkansas played Greensboro. Trevor Brazile goes down. This is a game where Greensboro had leads, was kind of physical like this team was today, and led for much of that game. Nick goes off for 22. Arkansas needed every bit of that to win that game, and then Nick looked good against Oklahoma. Before taking himself out into that game, still 20 plus points in a win, and then we know what happened against Bradley and North Little Rock. So we've got a small sample size, but still an idea of that Nick can blend in fairly quickly and play his game. But this is a different, this is consistent SEC competition now. And this was his SEC debut in spot duty for the most part. He did have, like I said, consecutive run in that second half. And there were some good things in there at both ends of the floor. So we'll see how quickly he can be enveloped into that lineup, into that rotation, and how that impacts others and how others play. But again, I thought everybody to a man today really struggled with their timing. This was a quick team. We talk about how physical Mississippi State was, but they had length and quickness. Probably one of the quicker teams, front court, back court, and wings that I've seen when you look at it collectively this season that Arkansas's faced. I might be wrong about that, but that was my impression watching it live. I thought it was a very quick-handed team. And Arkansas, even though it's got size and and good athleticism, positionally, it's not always that quick. Even defending, quicker guards can get by, and then they get downhill and get that leverage. And I really didn't expect to see this out of Mississippi State in terms of just finishing with efficiency, because it's a team that doesn't finish well. But they did today. There were problems for Arkansas in transition early. The Hogs end up winning the fast break points 18-14. So they did end up with a final advantage there. A lot of that coming in the second half. But other than getting to the free throw line 10 more times than Mississippi State and converting 8 more, the Bulldogs owned everything else. I mean, they shot 6 of 10 from 3, 60%. So even though Arkansas, after giving up 50+%, 52% to the Bulldogs overall from the field in the first half, got them down below 50 for the game, the three-point line was still a problem. And when you see a team that doesn't shoot well from 3, keeping the attempts down but being efficient, it's what Arkansas did at Kentucky. It's what Mississippi State did today. In fact, you can almost say that Mississippi State, played the part of Arkansas for most of this game, building that 16-point lead, and the Hogs played the part of Kentucky on this day. The difference was Arkansas fought back in it and had a legitimate chance to win it. Again, down only 3 with just over a minute left. There was a questionable foul call in the next possession. And maybe when I go back and look at replay, it's not so questionable, but seeing it in person and, got to credit Mississippi State as well. Not a good free throw shooting team, just over 62% today. But what did they do after Arkansas cut it to 3, 60-57? They made 6 of 6 at the foul line from that point on, and they were 2 of 3 from the field. And the miss was offensive rebound and put back by Cam Matthews, so they cashed that in. So 2 of 3 from the field, 6 of 6 at the line, all in the final 1:13 of the game after Arkansas pulled within 3. And that's what you have to do on the road, because I thought Arkansas was, at that point, Mississippi State had to convert. It's all, whatever it was given at that point, or getting, because I thought Arkansas was going to claw out a win there. But you got to credit the visiting team today. It's just what it is. I talked about Texas A&M looking ahead. After that, Arkansas comes home for a home game next Saturday, a week from today, against Florida. There'll be a high-profile visitor for that, a 5-star, from 2025. It won't be a visitor. It'll just be game attendance from 2025. And I think this young man, Terrion Burgess, will end up being a 5-star. National number 17, according to Rivals. 6'9" wing out of Benton. He's been on campus multiple times for games already this year. This will be like his 3rd or 4th game, including the red-white game all the way back in October. So, Arkansas is among the schools that have been pursuing him. One of the better players, and not only in the state but the country. Anytime you're top 20, you're on a path for a 5-star at some point. But class of 2025, so he'll be in for that game against Florida next Saturday. Arkansas will then have another midweek game at home against Georgia. And then there's that what looked like a monster road trip, Alabama, Tennessee before you get Kentucky at home again to wrap up the regular season. So Arkansas's got at least 3 more quad one win opportunities in those road games. Not looking like Kentucky will be in the top 30 in net by the end of the year, but maybe the Cats will turn around and be there. So that won't be a quad one win opportunity. But that's the weekend when Arkansas hosts Kentucky. That's when they'll have the class of 2024 5-star visitor, Trenton Flowers. I've talked about this before, 6'8", combo guard, top 25 national player, 5-star. He's considering a reclassification. We'll see if he ends up falling through on that visit date. But it's been scheduled March 3rd through the 5th, and so we'll see what happens there. Be very interesting to see if he does reclassify. He's already visited North Carolina, Louisville, Creighton. He still has visits planned to Alabama and Kansas. The Hogs are in his Final Five schools, by the way, so it makes sense that he would visit. Typically, the Razorbacks coaching staff doesn't like to have junior class players in for official visits during their junior year, but if he's considering a reclass, you make an exception. The same thing was the case with Ian Jackson a few weeks ago, national number 2, 5-star. He ended up committing to North Carolina just days after his Arkansas visit, which was his 5th and final official visit for his junior year. But he also was considering a reclass. Now, he has since said he's going to stay 2024, but that's why Arkansas had him in. All right, so it's just kind of getting you up to date on some of that. Marcus Adams Jr., here's another rising star in terms of just blowing up on the national scene. A similar path to Anthony Black. I interviewed him. He knows who AB is. He told me, that was about all he knew about Arkansas was Anthony Black, but 6'8", small forward wing out in California that plays with the Compton Magic in spring and summer basketball. They'll be in Little Rock, by the way, in late March for the Real Deal on the Rock grassroots event. The Compton Magic always take part in that, but he's part of that team that plays on the Adidas 3SSB circuit. But Arkansas just offered him. He already had a Final Five schools or a top 5. The Hogs, Indiana, and Kansas offered him on the same day last week. And I got to talk to him, and he said, even though he had a top 5 already listed, that changes things for him. He's really interested in Arkansas, just getting to know, just starting that relationship building. But I do think it's interesting that he'll be in the state next month. And as part of that really good, high school season will be over in a few weeks. And then it's off to grassroots spring and summer. And so that's where players continue to build on their profiles or slip. But here's a guy that's really climbing, and we'll see if he ends up being a 5-star. But he did have a couple of weeks ago, Marcus Adams Jr., a 51 point, 21 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 steal, 5 block game. A game, all those stats, that sometimes is, 4 or 5 games for some really good players. But that's what he did. And so, but at any rate, that's kind of the catching up on recruiting. If you guys have any comments, I know the Arkansas lost. There's not as much interest maybe to talk about it, but anything that anybody has on this game today, Nick Smith Jr. being back, this played out with him returning to play for the Razorbacks, almost precisely like I was told it would a couple of months ago. We went on and did one of these, I think it was after Arkansas played at Auburn, and that's where I really started kind of laying out some of the stuff that was going on. I didn't go into great specifics. I just gave you the basics, that he'd be back sooner than the end of January to be with the team as a teammate, and that the plan was for him to be back sometime after January as a player, that he was committed to that, and that I believe that to be the case more than any other scenario, which included not playing again. Certainly he hadn't packed up and moved on to the NBA. And so now Arkansas's got him back. And so, for all the rumors and stuff flying around, when you don't get a lot of details and specifics, I understand why that stuff happens on social media. But I do think it says a lot about Nick Smith Jr. When that would have been the easiest way to go and protect his draft status. He wanted to play for the Razorbacks. And so I know today didn't play out like you wanted to, Razorback fans, but Arkansas got a very good player back. And even though Arkansas hit some high notes in that winning streak without him, I think there was a limit to what this team could do eventually without him. And so there might be some growing pains here. I don't lay that at the feet of him today. I think that was bigger than him today because there were already problems in this matchup before he ever stepped foot on the court. Then the question might be, well, how did it impact players mentally? I don't think that's the case either. This is a guy that's been in the wars with them when he could. He did it in Europe. He did it in the preseason. He did it for 5 games before he got hurt again. And so this is a guy they're going to ride with. And I don't think there was anything going on there chemistry-wise But certainly, sooner rather than later, with 6 more regular season games left, that's it. Arkansas 6-6 in league play, 17-8 overall. We've gone through, the resume. Arkansas was on the bubble as 11 seed, beat Kentucky on the road, quad one win, moved up to 8, 7 in some. This is a team that, when we look at it, with what, and it's also not just what Arkansas is doing, but what other teams that are on the bubble or in similar resume situations have done this weekend. So there'll be some shifting and movement there, and this could be a situation where Arkansas's maybe next projection somewhere like a 10. We'll see if it's any worse than that. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, but that's kind of what my feeling is. And at this point, there's so much basketball left to be played. Even though I say it's only 6 games, because you can pick up. You have the possibility of picking up 3 more quad one game wins. That's half of your games. Even though those are on the road, I feel better about this Arkansas team as a road team. And then also you've got the SEC tournament to possibly pick up 1 or 2 more there, which would help you a little bit, especially if you look like some other teams' resume. What you do in the tournament might help just a little bit. And so there's a lot of basketball left to help Arkansas get to the NCAA tournament. And certainly they're close enough to the bubble. In fact, if they're not back on it, they're close enough to it where it could go the other way. So, we'll see what they do. I tend to think Arkansas is going to be just fine in terms of getting back to the tournament. I don't know that they'll have a seeding situation even like they had a year ago and certainly 2 years ago. So that's something obviously to keep an eye on. But I think personnel-wise, if they can get things going again with Nick back in the lineup, they're more dangerous than any of the previous teams were. Well, some of these comments, I can barely see them. All right, we're going to wrap it up. We're 28 minutes in. I usually double the time here, but I got to get back to Little Rock. We've covered most everything. Glad you could join us today if you were able to, and we'll get you next time. Thank you.